Hey guys, it's Madison here. So today's the day. I am finally revealing everything that happened between me and my ex. I wrote out this statement that I wasn't able to talk about in court because I wasn't able to go to any of the court meetings. I wasn't able to go to any of his court dates to actually speak out what has happened. So he just got let go onto a peace bond, which I honestly think is a bit unfair because every female or even male of the domestic violence deserves to be able to speak out about what has happened to them. And this is what I'm doing today. So sit back and I will get started. This is something that is not easy for me to talk about, but I need to tell it. This is something that is still hurting me and haunting me. This has been a topic that I needed to let go for a year now. This is not easy for me to talk about because the pain he put me through is hard to forget. I am going to start from the beginning of before we got together, going into the relationship. Before me and Zach got together, I was dating someone named David back in my grade 9 year. Me and David started dating October 30th, 2017. Me and him were an on and off relationship because he was a bit too sexual when it came to me. When me and him started dating, it was good up to a point where we had our first kiss, which was right before winter break. After our first kiss, that is when he started to get a bit touchy towards me. We would kiss and he would have his hands around my chest, grabbing my boobs. And when I would tell him to stop, he wouldn't. The first time he did it, I thought it was going a bit too fast. Sadly, that wasn't the end of it either. He kept doing it even when I would tell him to stop. It got so bad that we broke up a few times because of it, and it is when I started dating this guy named Braden, who happened to be Zach's best friend. But sadly, I ended up getting wrapped back to David because I was an idiot and started dating both of them at the same time. At lunch, I would go off and hide with David, but sadly, the only thing he would ever want to do was kiss and make out. And at some point, I thought David would change at some point. And so I ended up ending things with Braden, which hurt him a lot. Me and Braden stayed friends after that, though. But it was not a month later when I realized what I felt for Zach. How this is where thing sorry, this is where things start between me and Zach. Before me and Zach got together, we spent time together first to get to know each other more while I was still seeing David. But the more I was seeing Zach, I felt less for David and more for him. The last night I spent to get time together with David was at his house because his mom was out of town for a bit, so he invited me over. We spent time together for a bit when he wanted to show me his room, so I went in there and he asked me if we can kiss for a bit and cuddle, which I mean all couples do that, so I said sure. So we went to his bed and started kissing. He asked, can I take my shirt off? And I said, okay, because all guys do that sometimes without wanting to do anything else. But then it got worse. After that, the kissing, he wanted to do more when I did not want to. He kept trying to take my shirt off, and I did not want him to. It got to a point where I was crying and telling him to get off. And when he did not listen, I managed to move my leg a little and knee him in the crotch. After that, I stopped seeing David and started hanging out with Zach more. Me and Zach did not fully make things official until the second week of September. Me and him had an amazing few months together. We would always hang out outside together, even if it would start raining. On September 25th, we had our first kiss at Brand Avenue Park. It was like I felt butterflies in my stomach for the first time because when I kissed him, I felt that spark for the first time in my life, a spark I never felt with anyone else. The next few weeks we would spend time together, and David would constantly keep messaging me trying to get me to leave Zach for him. Sorry. Until one day, Zach asked me why I feared David and being around him. I explained what happened and how David kept sexually touching me when I did not want him to, and how even when I would say stop, he would not. Not to a point where I just gave up on saying stop, because it just never was going to. The first thing Zach told me, I will never allow that to happen again. I promise you, when you say stop, or if something you do not want to do, I will not force you. Which was a lie. But I will get to that part soon. After a month of dating, he brought me over to his house to meet his mom sometime in October, which was great. But the first time I walked in and met his mom. She's like, "Hi, Maddie." And when Zach heard that, he punched his door. So I went upstairs and asked him, "Why did you punch your door?" And he said, "Because I told her not to say your name." At first, me and him only hung out for a little bit, then went for a walk. 3 weeks later, I met his brother along with his dad. When I met his dad, he took us out for dinner to the Mandarin, which was nice. But I was super shy, because when I meet parents or anyone for the first time, I get a bit shy, which obviously is normal. After we ate, his dad gave him a bit of money so we can go on a date to the movies, which was our first date. We went to see Happy Death Day on October 22nd. It was amazing because none of my exes ever wanted to do that with me. So to have someone go on a date with me, cuddle me when watching a movie, made me feel like someone loved me. After the movie ended, we went back to his house for a little bit. We started kissing a little, and I asked him, "Would you ever want to, you know?" And he's like, "If you are ready and if you want to." And I said to him that I was ready. That is when he asked me if I was still a virgin because of what happened with David. And I said yes. But I never let David do any of that. Because I never let David do any of that. Because my plan was to wait till I was 18, and it was my prom night, because everyone loses it on prom night. But that did not happen because with Zach, I thought he was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So I told him I was ready, and on October 22nd, 2017, I was 15 and no longer a virgin. We would do it occasionally, but sometimes I would get scared and ask him to stop. That is the thing that did not always happen. When I would ask him to stop, he would slowly stop, but not fully. So I would go get scared and black out into a panic attack, to where I was swinging my arms, throwing punches. At first, he would just put me into locks and hold to get me to calm down, but by holding my hands around my head and legs around me to a point where I could not move, which would only make my panics worse. When I would tell him to let go, he would not until I stopped, so I would keep fighting to get him off me. And when I would finally get him off me, I would still be in a panic and start hurting him more. When I finally calmed down and realized what I did, I started crying, because I never done anything like that before. I never ever wanted to either. After that day, I never did it again. He started to take things slowly again, making sure I was okay. If I was not, that is when I was still allowed to be around my friends and family. That slowly started being a problem for him. Shortly towards our second year, but we are not there yet. When we started to continue to have sex, I managed to finally be okay with it, because we would not do it all the time. We would only be a bit we would only do it a bit. I was going through our first few months of our relationship, because I just lost my dad, John Reed, who was my stepdad, but he was more of a father to me than my biological father. So me and my mom would be fighting a lot. Plus, we were getting kicked out of our house, didn't have a bathroom for a while, so I had to shower either at my dad's when I was still talking to him, or at Zach's. Me and my dad got into a few fights before, to where I just walked out of his house, and the first night my mom was at her boyfriend's place when it happened. And it was just after I was spending time together with Zach as well. I went back, knocked on the door, and that was the first time Zach would answer his door. He answers it and sees me crying, sees me just crying, looks at me and says, oh my God, and puts me in his arms. That was the first night I ever spent over at Zach's house. I slept in their guest room because his mom did not think it was okay for me and him to sleep together. 15 and 16 years old. He was a year older than me, so his mom said once we were 18 it would be okay. But in the morning, Zach would wake up before me, and he would be up all night playing on his PC, and he would come in and cuddle me until I woke up. A few months went by, and we were still in sync. We would do anything for each other, but then the abuse started. At first, it was the name calling. He would call me a slut every fight. We would go into any name in the book: a whore, a cunt, a slut, a bitch, etc. He would call me a cheater. If I didn't do anything he wanted me to do. He would tell me I didn't love him if I did not choose him over my family or friends. He started to gain access to my social media but do not get me wrong, I was okay with it at first because everyone in relationships do that, but that is when he started to take more control. He would get mad. He would get mad if I get a message from my friends. It got to a point where I was not allowed to talk to them, so I blocked them. Had to create fake accounts just to talk to them most of the times. The physical abuse did not start till mid after our 1 year and a bit before our 1 year. I would have panic attacks, and if he would touch me, I'd black out. Do not get me wrong, I am not innocent. I'm gonna look at the camera for this one. Do not get me wrong, I am not innocent in part of this, because I would get in panic attacks because of the sexual abuse and all the abuse I went through as a kid. And if he would touch me in any sort of sexual way without my permission, I would get really scared. I had no idea that this stuff was going on. I had to actually get put on medication for this. So, I would have panic attacks, and I told the cops this too when we finally got him arrested. I would have panic attacks, and I would just start blacking out, where I would start throwing things, throwing my hands, swinging, punching, and everything, kicking. It got bad. So his way, hold on, explains it here now. Don't get me wrong, I am not innocent in all when it comes to my part in it. He may say that I would never take part or tell anyone what I did, but the truth is, yes, I would hit him. I would hurt him as well. I do not remember it because I would be in a panic attack after telling him to stop touching me first. He would just hold me to calm me down and hold me in a lock just to try to calm me down. The more my panic attacks happened, the more he would also get hands on. Yes, I have kicked and punched and kicked during those times, but I am blacked out. When he had hit me hard, he would pull my hair, smash my head to the ground, choke me, grab me if he had hit me to a point where I would pass out. He would sexually touch me to make sure I was still alive or still conscious. There was an incident that caused a big step and caused him to take more control. Oh, this is the part I didn't write in the statement, which I should have. I think I wrote it in the bottom. So there's a big nerve in the back of my neck that he ended up biting and putting me into a seizure. Didn't bother to call 911, didn't bother to go tell his mother or his brother who was in the next room. Just literally, I was on his bed. He didn't put me on my side or anything normal. So I don't remember much of it. All I remember is me waking up after apparently shaking and my eyes rolling to the back of my head. So he bit this nerve in the back of my head, right here. I don't remember exactly where. And he was like, "You went into a seizure." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you went into a seizure." And I'm like, "And you didn't bother to say anything?" It's because he didn't want to get in trouble. All right. Where am I at? Oh, there was an incident that caused a big step and caused him to take more control towards me. That is when I started using Discord. Discord is an online chatting server, and we got me an account so I can talk to him, his uncle, and his uncle. Then I started to watch my favorite YouTube, Madeline Bailey, on Twitch, and I started to join her server and met someone. Me and him became good friends quick as time went on. The more me and him talked, the more I started to like him more than a friend. At some point, Zach found out and he got so mad and he started having trust issues, which is understandable because I was with him while talking to someone else and catching feelings. I understood Zach's issues with that. When we finally worked our issues out, it finally worked out our issues with it, that when he watched my account, like, he watched my accounts like a hawk. If anyone messaged me, he'd have to see it before I answered it. If it was my friends, I wasn't allowed to answer it. I had to block them. If it was my mom, I was allowed to answer sometimes. He didn't even like me talking to her. He would call her so many rude names behind her back, and anytime I defend her, he'd get mad at me. Around our second year, we worked out everything until I noticed his old crush, which they were friends at the time. Her name is Joy. She messaged him saying I needed to tell you something, but does not say it in the message, tells him in person, a week after our 2-year anniversary. He leaves his phone lying around after I told him to promise me that there is nothing going on. I found out she has feelings for him. When he gets home, I confront him about it, and he tries to convince me that everything will be okay and about how much he does not want to lose either of us. He asked for an open relationship, and I stupidly agreed because I loved him so much, and the only thing was he let her do what she wanted, but when it came to me, I had to do everything so many times. I had to clean up after him, cook for him, spend my money on him when he sat doing nothing on his PC or went to see with her. He would make it to where we were on a schedule. Most of the time, me and her would hang out without him. Me and Joy did become friends through the open relationship. I was not mad at her for wanting to let her feelings out. I was mad at him for jumping to the opportunity to date her, after getting mad at me for having a little crush. It got so bad that I was not allowed to enjoy any time away with my friends or family. I started smoking. I started cutting again. I messaged him again because I needed a friend, and that's someone from the Madeline Bailey server. No answer, but I didn't blame him. Last time I told him was that I did not want him to contact me and to delete me from everything, so he did. Just before the summer during exams, I could barely stay to complete them, but I did, except for one, which was baking. I ran out of the classroom after seeing a message from Zach threatening his life. I ran out crying, looking for my counselor, Kevin, which by that point, I was scared for me because he was worried. He was worried I was going to do something to myself. He got me to talk to Canadian mental health associations. Zach finally told Joy he could not continue, but it did not last because he would act depressed, and when I would ask him what was wrong, he would say, well, I can't be with Joy, so thanks a lot. And as stupid as I am, I messaged Joy saying 2 months, then that is it. She agreed, but Zach did not, but he did it anyways. 2 months not have money. Sorry. Not having many of it off at all. A month when he found out I was looking into mental hospitals, me and my cousin Sage went to my nana's for a few days to get away. But I could not, and I literally could not enjoy it. I was spammed to no end. When I finally got back, he demanded to see me, but I had to go to my trailer for my brother's birthday, and still the same thing, being spammed to no end, could not enjoy anything. That is when he finally ended the relationship with Joy. Weeks went by, and we were happy. Finally, no fighting, no name calling. I thought things would change until one day I went to go to the store to get us snacks while his mom went to go get pizza for dinner. I came back and I see him standing there with his arms crossed. I walked up and he says, "Do you have something to tell me?" I say, "No." He goes, he goes, he goes, sorry. He goes, "Want to keep lying to me? Go look at what I found on your laptop." I see his messages that when I got the worst, that's when I got the worst of it. I was thrown to the ground, punched in the back, in the back, in the head, back of the arms, everywhere, kicked in the stomach to where a point where I just said, "Just kill me." He got me up and hugged me. I was so scared. I grabbed my phone and I ran upstairs. That is when he followed me, grabbed me, and said, "Let me see your phone." I was scared he would see that I was still messaging my friends, that I threw it at the stairs, breaking it. That's when he lifted me up, choking me up against the wall. He did not stop until his mom got home. The abuse got so much worse after that. Anytime I did not do anything he wanted, he would say hurtful things. When I was in grade 12, I thought finally I'm away. I can have my space from him while I'm at school. Nope, that did not happen. He came back for another semester. I had to do everything with him. Only time I was able to talk to my friends was either in classes, if I had them, or in between breaks, when he could not see me, or when he was sick. It's when it was hell, when COVID-19 happened, and that is when I started to be able to stay home because we were not allowed to go anywhere unless it was needed. And his mom worked at Homewood and couldn't help. I'll explain that after. And had a breakout. I had to do my school online, and that was hard, but I made it through. Me and Zach finally got to see each other again, which made us happy, until another breakout happened, and it got worse. He was demanding, and he would demand I'd risk my health and my family's health to see him, and sadly I did. I feared him a lot. I felt like I could not leave. But that all changed when I started working at Shoppers Drug Mart and met people who helped me get away from him, and met someone who I ended up falling for. His name is Ben. He helped me get away from Zach, and it took a bit, but I finally got away. Yeah, I kept going back a few times, and went back after he drove me to suicide. I went back when he kept begging me and promising me he would change, and me stupidly falling for it, until March 15th, 2021, I finally left and fully had enough. Ben and my family helped me keep him blocked. He showed up at my work when I was working. The police officers barely did anything until May 7th, when I called them, telling him that he was threatening his life if I didn't go back to him. He was finally arrested, and when I was finally free. P.S. This is for Zach if he ever sees this. You will never, ever lay hands on me again. You will never choke me, punch me, or hit me in any way again. You will never put me into a seizure again, which you should have called 911 when it happened, but you didn't. Luckily, there was no damage. This message is for Nadine and your brother Kyle. How could you guys sit there and hear it happening and not stop him? How could you not help me when I told you about it? How could you say we will always love you as family no matter what happens? You both told me to leave. You both told me to do what made me happy. And the fact that you worked at Homewood, the fact, Nadine, that you worked at Homewood and you did not stop the abuse is beyond me. Goodbye forever. This is my story, and I'm finally telling what happened. So yeah, the fact that his mother worked at fucking Homewood and didn't bother to actually do anything about it, her license should be taken away. Because it doesn't matter what section you are in Homewood. It doesn't matter if you're switchboard. It doesn't matter what area you're working in. Your responsibilities in the hospital matter outside. So if you're allowing an abuse to happen when you're working in a mental hospital, your license should be taken away. So thank you, Nadine, and thank you, Kyle, and to the rest of your family for literally watching your brother and your son abuse me. That is my statement. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.